Hello, welcome to my channel here on Eva J's Mystical Messages, and I just wanted to come on and do the meditation for today. Today I was told that I should do two things. I should pull a card, and I should show off my award. I got this yesterday evening at the club meeting for our local ham radio club, and I won 5th place in our club for last year for doing contests and things. So I'm very proud. And I just thought it was very cool. And I just think it's so cute. It's just a cute little trophy. My other ones are on the cabinet over there, and they are bigger. But I like this one so much. I just think it's so cute, and I just think it's very cool. Somebody said you could pour egg liquor into it and like drink out of it, but I am not going to do that. At least I have other glasses for that. So at any rate, so I'm going to pull cards from two different decks. I've got two different oracle decks here. First, I've got the Oracle of Mystical Moments, which I absolutely love this deck, and I think it's very cool. And I've got Nature's Whispers Oracle cards. I'm not going to turn the camera around because my table's a mess again, so I'm going to start with the Oracle of Mystical Moments and see what comes up in relation to today's meditation. I have to turn these cards around a little bit so that I can at least, so that they don't bend. So, like with normal playing cards, you sometimes get the cards like get bent because you shuffle them so many times, and so down the middle they get really bent. My in-laws actually had a deck of cards for a card game, and they were down the middle. They were completely bent, so you couldn't, and I don't want to do that with my oracle cards. Whoops. The cards seem to have a mind of their own today. Let me see if I can get them to shuffle here. And Nigel, tell me when to stop. Okay, he says stop. Okay, so I take the top one. And this one says Morning Dew Girl. And what I see is her pouring the dew onto the nature, in the mornings. And in the morning sometimes there's a little bit of dampness in the air, and it creates this sort of shimmery, shiny stuff on leaves and on plants and things like that. And so that's what she's doing. It's kind of a newness and revitalizing of nature and of the world around you. So I just think that's very cool, and I think it's very pretty. These cards are really amazing. So, but that's the Morning Dew Girl, and so she's making sure. Makes me think of sunshine a little bit, making sure that the grass and the trees and the leaves and everything are nicely dew. You have nice dew on them, and in the mornings when you get up and go out, and you feel that sense in the air that it's just very, very cleansing and very nice. Okay, and the second deck is the Nature's Whispers. Let's see what cards come up for this. These cards are so huge that it's very difficult to shuffle them, so I just flop them down, let them flop down, and do their thing. So, see if there's any relation to my meditation for today, and also with the Morning Dew Girl that I have from the other deck. So I'll leave that one turned over. And okay, and so I take the top. And this is because it says, let love be your beacon. And in relation to this, I think that's kind of neat. So we have two ladies on the cards, and one is holding a cup or a light, and that is maybe the inner light that we have inside of us. And she's calling the butterflies to come to her, and the butterflies are kind of symbolic of love and of rebirth and that kind of thing. So let love be your beacon. So that is the card for today for that. So that is, with that said, I will start the meditation. Today is day number 10. It is March 22nd, 2025. Tomorrow, my husband and I will celebrate our 30th wedding anniversary, so that's very special too. Let love be your beacon. It works. Okay, today's day number 10, and it's March 22nd, 2025. I said, last night I had a strange and very unsettling dream. I dreamt that someone close to me had transitioned. Ramon said, why is that unsettling? And Sunshine says, she's concerned about her family, you goof. And Ramon says, okay, Sunshine, I get it. But Yvette, why are you worried? You know from speaking with Fred Rogers that your family members will be okay when they cross over. And I said, I know that, but will I? And Sunshine says, of course you will. Sometimes it is when people face their greatest challenges that they realize just how strong they are. It is happening now. There is a universal shift and people are discovering they're discovering that the levels of their strength is astonishing for them. You are experiencing a massive planetary shift, which will give way to a new awakening in your world. This is becoming a strong and emphatic moment of realization. I said, what does this have to do with my dream? And Sunshine says it has everything to do with it. Your mind is open to new ideas. The dreams that you are also able to recall hold significance to you. I will create a new sort of dimension in your way of seeing the world. Or it will create a new sort of dimension in your way of seeing the world. I said, now that really does sound like hocus pocus. Sunshine says, it's not, Yvette. You're looking at a lot of negative stuff right now through spiritual eyes. There is an almost uncanny sense of longing in you to experience more and more in the spiritual realm. The notion that the physical transition is no longer very sad, but an aspect of continuation of your unfoldment. You do not fear it as much as you used to. So the notion of it no longer seems scary, but instead feels like a natural sort of progression. I said, yes, but the loss of people close to me scares me more than my own potential passing. I know you are here, but the greatest fear is of being alone, of not knowing where to go, how to proceed on my own. It is strange because when I got cancer, I had to do just that. Why do I have hang-ups about this? Sunshine says, you're physical. That's why. You are 54 years old and are thinking about these things on a much deeper level than when you were, say, 35. The fact that your husband is getting ready to retire tells you that you are getting older and your ideas and values are becoming more solid, and the foundation of your life is taking on a sense of consistency that you did not have when you were younger. And I said, this all feels like a bunch of word salad. Just tell me this. Is this a midlife crisis I am having? I know that I am beyond menopause. Sunshine says, it is not a crisis. It is merely a much stronger sense of depth in thinking. I said, yeah, that makes sense. So as I get older, will I develop this, whatever this is? And Ramon says, it's called wisdom. People talk a great deal about this thing called common sense. Common sense is anymore not all that common. It is a notion that people are losing their logical mind to find answers to emotional questions. The problem is, to some extent, logic has essentially flown out the window. Be grateful that you still have logic and are able to do things that are conducive to a logically based mind. The problem is, instead of having that balance of logic and emotion, the people do not use their sense to find answers to problems. Your dream and response to it was based on an emotional response. Have you noticed that the three of us are an embodiment of your ideas about common sense? Today you are speaking with Sunshine, who you often called the guide of levity, but she is, in fact, the guide of your emotions and well-being. I am the guide of logic. We discuss oftentimes the things that consume your logical mind. You used to say that your favorite aspects of political science wasn't things like the relationship between countries or the analytical notions of political ideologies, but instead you got into the numbers and statistics. You have a keen understanding of the logistics of it. That is where I come in. The notion of balance is where Nigel comes in. He knows and understands that in order for you to understand the notion of your emotions versus your logic, you have to be firmly planted into the idea of balance. Balance is that which will enable you to make sound decisions based on what your mind and heart are telling you. This is why many people are in tune with their guides and how they have varied personalities. Remember when you were a child and your mother asked you about how people of the Hindi faith could believe in more than one God? I said, I do. I told her that maybe what they believed in were aspects of God. And Ramon said, that response was one of the most brilliant summations. How old were you when you said that? I said I was about 11 or 12, I think. Ramon says, you touched on something that showed your mother that you were very advanced, even at a young age. I said, is that why I wasn't allowed to read certain books when I was younger? Ramon says, yes, you were like the Pandora's box. When you were able to start exploring your spiritual nature, then you gained the key that opened that box and everything blew wide open. You were able to understand more and more. This is precisely what people like your mother were afraid of. If you came out with new and spiritual observations at 8 and 12 years of age, then you could upstage and infuriate the people who do not think you should know the things you know. And Jesus comes in at this moment and says, I went through that during my life, Yvette. I made those so-called learned men look foolish. It was not the intention, but it was the outcome. Sometimes people do not know what to make of spiritual people. They try to put us back into some kind of box, and when they cannot, they grow angry. The truth is, you will not go back into their box. You cannot. Your mind and thoughts are far too expansive. Your inner genie is out of the bottle, and now you are exploring this without fear. The only thing that could hold you back is your ego, or that sense that you are not supposed to experience this based on human conditions. Remember when you were doing the conversations with God and you abruptly stopped? Do you know why you stopped? I said, yeah, people were telling me that I was doing was not right. Jesus said, yes. But when you spoke to the Creator, you said that you felt badly ending the communications abruptly. This was the point where you acknowledged that by ending the conversation, it was because of what other people were saying. Now you are saying that you do not concern yourself with what those other people are saying. You are setting the boundaries for yourself with this. It is entirely your choice. You also recognize that if someone comes into your space and ridicules you, it is about their insecurity and not yours. The bottom line is you are continuing to follow things through with your stated intentions. You take an hour each day and nourish your spirit, like you go and walk for an hour and nourish your physical state. The balance that you have found in your daily life has created for you a remarkable idea that it is not just about your physical well-being and your excitement about losing weight, but it is also about your emotional and mental well-being. Do you see where your soul's work is going? Body, mind, spirit, heart, mind, balance. All of these things are manifesting in you to create a measured and insightful sense of being. Once you experience the balance, you will be able to perceive how things you need to move forward. It may sound convoluted and hocus pocus to you, but I guarantee that when you read this back, you will understand the significance of it all. I said, it does feel strange. So if I understand this right, Sunshine, you are the emotional part of me. Does that mean that you are one with my emotional or creative side? Sunshine says, exactly. I said, okay, and Ramon, you are embodied by my intellect and logical side. Ramon says, yes. And I said, and Nigel, you balance everything out. And Nigel says, yes, you are able to sense the balance, which is why I have been quiet all this time. Jesus explained it very well. I said, I think I understand this now. Jesus, can you tell me how this all connects to the dream I had? And Jesus said, the dream you had was a perceived notion about a future event. Yes, everyone will transition one day. So there's no reason to feel apprehensive about that. Simply accept that the events may play out tomorrow or in 10 years' time. The reality is that whatever may happen, you will be spiritually balanced and prepared for it. Once you understand that these events may one day occur, you can cease feeling fearful about them. Remember what Sky once told you about worry being a negative perceived affirmation. Try to release these worries and rest in the notion that all will be well, and all will be well. I said, even in the outer world, I asked. And Jesus said, especially in the outer world. Why is it you are calm about future, Yvette? I said, I guess because I know that all will be well. I am actually not so as worried about the way things are going, and maybe I would be more worried if I was in the thick of things, but I honestly am glad that I'm not. And Jesus said, I believe that you would handle yourself the same if you were there. And I said, thankfully I'm not. I'm really glad that I'm not. I do admire the light workers who are there and always maintain their optimism. And Sunshine said, it is important. It is an important talent indeed, but it is also important to stay focused on the light. I said, you sound like Nigel there, Sunshine. And she said, well, his wisdom does wear off even when he gets long-winded. And Nigel says, I have been pretty quiet today, you know. And Sunshine says, sure, but how long will that last? And I said, I love your friendly banter. It does give me hope that things will get better. In fact, it gives me confidence that it will. And Jesus said, and so it is. And I said, thank you all for today. I love you all so much. I hope that you can all feel it. And they all said, oh, we can, Yvette. We most definitely can feel it. And we hope you can feel how much we love you as well. And that was the end of the meditation. Okay, so there's a lot there. I had a dream last night that someone close to me transitioned, and it really kind of gave me the heebie-jeebies, and I wasn't sure how to go contend with it. But at any rate, that is what happened, and it was a very nice little chat there with my guides and with Jesus, and I'm starting to feel more and more comfortable with the fact that he will pop in whenever he feels like it and chat with me. And I get that sense also about the Creator and about any person that has passed before me that I would like to talk to, or that I actually make mention of. So it is really quite amazing, and it's quite extraordinary what's going on with that. But as I said, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, and I think that a lot of people are worried and concerned, and I think that what the best message that I can give, or the best thing that I can say based on this meditation, is to give it over to Spirit and let love be your beacon. That is the best way that I can imagine sharing this idea that things will get better. And as Jesus said, and so it is. So I thank you for today. I thank you for being here, and I wish you a wonderful weekend. Let your love light shine. Go out and enjoy the morning dew. And I'll see you tomorrow for the next meditation. Take care, and as always, namaste.